All right, so we heard from Kevin Durant. We heard from Steve Nash. For months, the story of the Brooklyn Nets collapse, one of the biggest what ifs in NBA history, has been told by pretty much everyone except the man at the center of it all, the guy who was supposed to be the co pilot of a dynasty, who became the lightning rod for all the chaos until now. Kyrie Irving has finally broke silence, folks. And on a completely raw, unfiltered Twitch screen, he reacted to his old teammate and coach. What he said pretty much changes the entire story. And he didn't just fire back, he pulled the curtain back on the whole operation. So, what really went down in Brooklyn? Let's get into it.
When you think back to our time in Brooklyn, what do you think of?
I had just signed that deal. You had just signed the deal. But I feel like we were secure, but everything else around us was going to,
Mm-hmm.
and not in a bad way. We got GMs going to other teams. We got coaches going to other teams. We got players forcing trades. We got bringing Ben Simmons. He's back. Like it was just so much. I had just signed that deal. You had just signed the deal.
Here, all right?
But I feel like we were secure, but everything else around us was going to,
So when he says
and not in a
this,
bad
right,
way. We got
and it's obviously again, I didn't take this personally. Right?
everything else around us was
So when he says this, I'm not taking that personally. It was a lot going on around all of us, right? But how Steve ended up becoming our head coach, I'll let Kay answer that, right? When he's ready. But I already had my own thoughts on how the coaching situation was gonna go, right? I felt like there were other candidates out there that could have definitely been our head coach that had championship experience. I think Steve had championship experience in his own way in his role that he played in Golden State. But in terms of being a head coach, I had my own thoughts, right? And I'll get into that later in my documentary, but I'm just saying I had my own thoughts. And when Steve became our head coach, he even admitted to me that he had his own reserves on coaching me, and I had my reserves on him being coached by him. So we had already hashed that out, but I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like, yeah, it was all easy around just everything in Brooklyn. We're one of the most watched teams now because we have all-stars, MVPs on the team. We are in New York City, in the media capital of the world. You just got to walk a little bit different. And I wasn't ready to walk that walk, and I don't know if I can't speak for them, but there was a lot going on, just not within the team, but just Brooklyn in general, the Nets.
going to,
Mm-hmm.
You know,
not in
I
a
didn't feel
bad
like
way.
I didn't feel like it was going to shit, but I felt like there was just a lot of structural change happening that was very quick. And he's coming off an Achilles tear. You know what I'm saying? He's coming off an Achilles tear, right? And he's trying to get back into who he is. And I'm like, I'm ready now. This was a season I had my 50-40-90 where Steve is head coach. You know what I'm saying? We're having a great season, but at the same time, everything is just pretty much like easy, right? Everything's pretty much easy. Like everything's easy, everything's going. And then we trade for James, and everything starts, improving and things of that nature. But during that season, I had a breakdown where I went through some things at home, went through some family stuff that I had to address, right? And
All right, so first, to really get what Kyrie is saying, you have to know what he's reacting to because Kevin Durant really went on the Mind the Game podcast, which he co-hosts with, and you guessed it, Steve Nash. Mind the Game podcast is LeBron James and Steve Nash, and they basically are co-hosts amongst each other with this whole podcast. And Kevin Durant was one of the guests. And KD on the show, KD gave his take on why the super team blew up on the launch pad. And Durant basically said the team was in constant chaos. And he described an environment where from front office and coaches were leaving for other teams and players were demanding trades and talking right to Nash. KD said, I think we didn't get the full Steve Nash like I wanted. I just feel like it was just too many distractions in the way, and you can't win that way. So Katie's version is that few committed guys were drowned out by all the outside noise and drama, and Nash even agreed, as you see, saying he didn't even get to coach as much as he wanted to. And that was the narrative, a story what could have been ruined by things they couldn't control. But as Kyrie make it crystal clear, that's not the whole picture. Because if you look on Kyrie's side, because he didn't just disagree, he took a sledgehammer to the entire idea while watching a clip of KD and Nash. Kyrie basically went off, especially about his former coach and the power structure in Brooklyn. Like he revealed the tension with Nash wasn't some slow burn. It wasn't there from day one. Kyrie said that when Nash first became head coach, Nash admitted he had reservations about coaching him, and Kyrie had his own doubts about being coached by him. So let's break that down because this wasn't just a player and a coach butting heads. This was the guy with the clipboard and the guy with the ball both having a uh-oh type of feeling. You know what I'm saying? Before the practice even started. And the foundation had cracks before they even laid it. But it went deeper because Kyrie also appointed to assistant coach Iman Udoka, leaving to become the head coach of the Celtics, the same team that swept the Nets in the 2022 playoffs. And Kyrie explained, can you imagine going against the coach that literally saw all of your strengths and weaknesses and now we playing against them? Boston was ready for us, basically, was Kyrie was saying. And this wasn't just a staff change, it was a huge strategic blunder that showed just how unstable the whole coaching situation was. But let's continue.
I ended up not going into work for a certain amount of time, and I got killed for that, right? And everybody was like, yo, where's Kai at? Where's Kai out? And in between that time, Karras, Jared Allen got traded, and others got traded. Torian got traded for James. Not for James, excuse me. We ended up trading Karras, Jared, and then we got James, right? And then it kind of just started, like, think about it. Think about when you get James, Kyrie, KD on one team, and then you add in all the other complementary pieces. It just, for your first year, your second year, that's impressive. You know what I'm saying? That's impressive. No, again, when I had my 50, 40, 90 season, did I want to leave the team the way I did? Hell no. But again, I take my accountability for not being in the greatest space mentally, physically, emotionally, you know? So I didn't know how to even express that to them at the time. Like, yo, this is how I was feeling. This is what I'm dealing with. It was just kind of like me, isolated, being recluse. Like, y'all don't really understand what's going on. So
We got GMs going to other teams. We got coaches going to other teams.
Yep, and he's talking about coaches going to the team. Ime Udoka literally went to the Boston Celtics after coaching with us.
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy, bro. You know, that was crazy. We had Ime Udoka literally go to Boston the next year. I mean, like, you got coaches leaving other teams, and it wasn't anybody's fault. It's just opportunity. But we're in the same division.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine going against the coach that literally saw all of our strengths and weaknesses, and now we're playing against them? You know what I'm saying? So Boston was ready for us. Ime had them ready, had the Celtics ready, dog. When we played them in the 2022 playoffs, shit got wild. Shit got wild, y'all. For sure, shit got wild. So we had a lot going on. Katie is right. That's what I'm saying. When I said I'm gonna address this on stream, it literally was just about doing this and having fun with it and letting people know. Okay. You know, letting people know like what it is. That's all.
We got players forcing trades. We got bringing Ben Simmons. He's back. Like, it was.
All right, so I'm not gonna lie to you. So when we traded James for Ben, right? That whole Nets Big Three era. By the way, Nets World. You probably won't give me any credit, but Nets World, that's definitely something that I came up with. But it's okay. Nets World probably was existence before I came up with. That's fine too. But when I started calling it Nets World, everything like that started going up. All right. So when James got traded for Ben, I don't think we knew the landscape of where Ben was at, right? I don't think we knew where Ben was at. So when that trade happened, it shocked a lot of people. It shocked me. I was talking to James one day. I'm like, shit, bro, we about to go win these championships. And it was like a day later, asked for a trade. I was like, oh, shoot, okay. Shit like that now. Okay, I can't be mad. I'm not going to ever be mad at someone doing what's best for them. Right? And shout out to James, right? And I've had my conversation with James, and I told him, I said, bro, I understood completely what you were doing, man. I understood, like, you're in the middle of the season, you're unsure about what I got going on, you know, you don't know what the next portion of your career is going to look like.
And to be honest, look, this wasn't Kyrie pointing fingers, in my opinion. And what became the most telling part of the scream He flipped the camera on himself. He given a level of honesty we rarely see. He owned his part in the chaos, admitting he wasn't always the leader the Nets needed him to be. He talked about his personal struggles, family issues, insane pressure from the pandemic, vaccine mandate that kept him off the court for so long. And he was apparently getting so real that his own agent called them midstream, telling them he was oversharing. And this is where the story gets bigger than basketball. And it's about a person dealing with massive public pressure and private turmoil. And he said the vaccine situation got so intense that he went to the front office with a simple shocking request. And he said, I even told the Nets to release me. And he shared, like, look, he said, yo, can you please release me? And that's the heart of his story. It's not just about blaming others, but admitting he hit a point where he just wanted out and he was stuck between his personal beliefs and his job, all while playing in the biggest media market on earth. And it changes the context from a player just refusing to play to a man at a breaking point. And we're about to dive into what Kyrie said about the Nets organization itself and his relationship with KD. And trust me, it reframes the entire super team era. But first, if you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives into NBA stories, you won't get anywhere else. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the channel and stay ahead of the game.
Like, things are going on, so you have your questions. What contract you gonna get? Because we're all max deal players at that point. Me, James, and Kay are all max deal players. We are all worth whatever we're about to get paid, right? I'm gonna say that out loud. But when that happened and we got Ben, a lot more pressure started to come in on our franchise, because now not only do we have this going on, but also we have a situation that Ben is dealing with where everybody is trying to micromanage the spun narrative. Like, he's doing this, he's doing that. So it wasn't a fair trade at the outset, right? It was not at all. I didn't feel like that was a fair trade. But at the same time, when it happened, he went to our division. He went to Philly. He went to Philly. So not only did we lose Ime Udoka, and then we lost one of our assistant GMs, but we lost James to Philly. So we're in the same division with our brothers. And they know everything that we got going on. So when you spend a season or two with somebody, you're gonna know their habits, you're gonna know their strengths and weaknesses. That, and I'm grateful that all of this stuff is just business, you guys. Basketball is not meant to be this harmful, violent, like he said, she said type of eventful space, bro. This is not Love Island, y'all. This is not real world. This is not The Shore. This is the basketball of the NBA drama space. Is not real drama, you guys. It's not. I'm here to tell you that. Now, it may seem like guys don't get along because guys may be misunderstanding people's moves or what they do, or something. Of course, some certain situations are different. They're serious, but I'm saying the basketball drama that's created, like, look at them going against each other. Look at them. It looks like they don't like each other. It's like, bro, in competition, if you're my brother and you were just with me, rocking with me, and we were supposed to win championships together, we had these higher expectations, of course I'm going to try to knock your block off. I'm human. You know what I'm saying? It's a business at the end of the day, but it's entertainment, dog. It's like NBA, maybe that little equal sign to WWE sometimes, bro. Like, people get it messed up in their minds, be living out these characters and these nicknames. It's just not it. It's not it. I don't live like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm able to talk about these things in a very, I won't say in a very friendly manner, because in business ain't shit friendly, but these are my brothers at the end of the day, you guys. These are people I care about. I care about their families. I care about them succeeding. I care about them as black men. I care about them as young men, or older men as well, like in terms of just how we have made it we made it out of nowhere, damn near. You know what I'm saying? And we've been part of the renaissance of the league, being worth billions of dollars. So of course, like, we're gonna have our spats, we're gonna have our shit. But when things like this occur,
it's just so much
stuff going on.
It's all good, y'all.
Around us, I feel like
by the way, and mind you, I'm aware that they've had a few drinks as well. So I'm not judging this too hard. Like, I've drunk wine before. This podcast, I feel like Bob Braun is meant to be more casual, and everybody else kind of, this is kind of everybody just feeling comfortable speaking on things. But hey, it's always time and a place. And
we were locked in on the same page and understand, like, we're trying to do something special here. But and I felt like your hands were tied a lot because you had to, as a coach, you got to deal with so much.
Nah, he's not lying about that. I will commend Steve Nash for dealing with all these things as a coach. He did his best, man. He did his best. I what you know what I'm saying? He did his best. I'm gonna just leave it at that. He did his best.
I didn't get to coach as much as I wanted to.
That's what it was. I didn't think we didn't get the full Steve Nash like I wanted, like you probably wanted. I just felt like it was just too much, too many distractions in a way, and you know you can't win that way. And but I felt like we had great intentions, though. I felt like we cared enough. I felt like every day we were trying to push towards winning the champ. It was a great vibe in there. It's some of the best times. That first year, that's why I signed that deal.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm glad that he said this, is because that first year that we were all together was really special. It was really special. We had veterans, we had young guys, we had we literally breezed through the regular season. You know, it was so easy. And I gotta give everybody their flowers that was in that locker room, because we really came together at the right time. You know, I get injured, James gets injured in those playoffs. We don't know.
You could tell a bit that Kyrie is trying to make sure he say the right things. And I get it. He keeping it respectful from a business perspective, because their jobs and they work at the NBA and they gotta, speak a certain way because they don't want no backlash and things get brought to the organizations they play for.
What could have happened, right? We only played a few games together, all three of us, and we were 13-3, I believe, right? But it's just sad when we look at these times and they're like, well, this was a failure, without the proper context to how all this ended up happening. You know, it's real people involved in this. It's not for play, right? I say it's entertainment, right? And I'm saying it's a business, but also tied into that, we're real human beings dealing with trying to do something very special that comes with sacrifices that no one will appreciate, except for the people that you in war with, you know what I'm saying? Or you're going to battle with. Things happen, right? Those playoffs, if KD's foot doesn't, hit that line, or if I don't get injured, or if things don't work out differently, maybe we're sitting here multi-time champions. A few of us got MVPs. I got an MVP. Things work out. Of course, we could play the hypotheticals, but dealing with fact, it was a tough environment for all of us. I will say that. It was a tough environment. It wasn't just for them. It was for me too.
The first year, man, most fun ball I had. Some of the most fun ball I had playing my whole life. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Brooklyn a lot. I love playing for Brooklyn, but it's just so much
stuff happened
around.
And I pray that one day, right, we all get to sit down, and I hope it's for my documentary, then we get to talk about this time more openly, because I think even as I watch Bron sit
Yeah, I want him to say the truth so bad. He mentioned his words.
there, he knows that a lot of this stuff was happening, but also him being in LA, he had his own thing going too. So this is giving him clarity on what happened, but it's also coming from just KD and Steve, and there were a lot of parties involved in this. And some of the other parties that are involved probably won't ever speak on it, but eventually I will.
Around the guys that were committed to the situation, I felt like we were committed, but everybody else wasn't. It just was weird.
So this was the part where I honestly looked at it and I was like, when he said this, emotionally I was like, okay, we're all committed to the goal at the end of the day, but sometimes not everybody's gonna follow what you want them to do. I wish I had my soundboard for this, but not everybody's gonna do what you want them to do. And I've had to accept that as a human being and as a leader. Not everybody's gonna do what you want them to do. Not everybody's gonna be committed the way you want them to be committed, right? And it's not like Kay is asking me for this, but it's like I asked for this commitment before I committed to Brooklyn from him, which was a beautiful thing. I'm like, yo, let's commit to this thing. We could build up Brooklyn. We could really put Brooklyn on the map. Nobody's really thinking about Brooklyn. But when he said that, I'm like, bro, Steve wasn't even in the play yet. But this is your man's. This is your man. So I got to support that. This is your man's. Cool. You want him? Cool. You like Steve? I love Steve. You know what I'm saying? Cool. As a younger brother, I'm like,
with him
okay,
like that.
I don't care. That's fine. You want Steve to coach? That's fine. But when you're committed to the same goal and then a year changes things and then things going behind the scenes, like, come on.
But everybody else wasn't. It just was weird.
Sound like KD was kissing butt and switched up on Kyrie.
It was weird timing, bro. It was weird for everybody. It was weird for everybody, y'all. and that's what I'm grateful that I've been able to gather all the information and yeah. Okay. Yeah. So again, I gave you guys certain details of
That
what
was
was
his agent basically telling him to
going
wrap it
on.
up.
You watched the
Miss
clip. That's
Green.
all I wanted to address on that.
His agent had to tell him
Media
to wrap it up, Miss Green family. And look, man, after laying his own accountability on the table, Kyrie zoomed out to the bigger picture, the Nets organization and his bond with Kevin Durant. And this is where he dropped what might be the biggest bombshell of it all. According to Kyrie, the problem started before he even put pen to the paper. He claimed the organization never really wanted them. And you could tell because they wanted Kevin Durant and Kyrie was the package deal. And you heard him say, look, like Kyrie was like, look, man, I wish that, you know, we got to know them beforehand because they wasn't with me like that. They wasn't rocking with him like that, Kyrie said. And the Nets didn't want me like that, and they wanted KD. And this is a wild thing to hear because he's basically saying the whole project was flawed from the start because one of his biggest stars felt like an unwanted guest. And he even said he regretted not doing his homework, admitting he never met with the GM before signing. Y'all heard him. And we can't sit there and we not gonna deny that Kyrie is one of the best ball handlers in the NBA. And look, Kyrie, you could tell he acted out of loyalty. KD, who was recovering from a torn Achilles, they had a conversation, dapped it up. Yeah, we gonna commit. Everything looked fine and dandy. But about this relationship with Durant, despite KD's comments, Kyrie shut down the idea of any personal beef, but he did push back on the idea that he wasn't all in. He explained, we all committed to the goal, bruh. So in the translation, commitment means different things to different people. And for Kyrie, his commitment was to his friend KD and his personal principles. And for Durant, it was about winning a title, period. A sellout. Because when those two versions of commitment didn't line up, the whole thing started to shake. And adding to all that instability was the James Harden trade, a move Kyrie says completely blindsided him. And one day they were talking about winning the ring, the next day Harden was gone. So when you put it all together, Kyrie's story, KD's story, Nash's story, the picture becomes much clearer. The Brooklyn Nets super team wasn't wrecked by one thing. It was a total system failure, a perfect storm of dysfunction at every single level. And you had an organization that in Kyrie's eyes wanted a superstar, but wasn't ready for him. And you had a first-time head coach and Steve Nash thrown into an impossible situation with huge egos and nonstop drama. And then you had a superstar, Kevin Durant, who was just wanted to play basketball, but was surrounded by what he called distractions. But the reality is, nah, dog. You switched up. You said you was rocking with Kyrie and y'all had this thing going. Y'all was gonna win the title. But then soon Steve Nash, your boy, came in. The commitment and the loyalty in which you said you were committed to when you had a conversation with Kyrie, you switched up. You switched up on your teammate. Steve Nash just the coach. He just making sure he could set things up on a whiteboard so y'all can be more efficient and things flow more smoothly and effectively for y'all to win the game. Obviously, y'all the ones, you and Kyrie, Katie and Kyrie, the ones got to go out there and execute. The coach is the one that just assesses things from an outside situation to create systems so it's better for y'all, which y'all can't see clearly as an off the court leader. So nah, dog, ain't nobody. It was none of that distractions and all of that, and everybody wasn't committed. KD wasn't committed. He trying to cover it up and deflecting, playing victim because the reality is he lied to Kyrie. He didn't be loyal as he said he was going to be, and that's just what it is. But what do you think? Who was to blame for the Nets collapse? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more NBA analysis. On that note, families, peace.